Yes, it's good to see you again. It's been a while. I'm sorry. I know that normally we conduct these meetings outdoors, but the weather is just horrible. That's why I arranged for this old, giant airport warehouse for our meeting. I hope you don't mind. Now, as your attorney, I need to remind you that whatever you want to tell me is in the strictest confidence. As you know, my law firm and myself specifically represent not just you, but the handful of other Driders and Arachne in North America. So before we get started, I just need to ask you if this meeting involves a conflict with another Drider or Arachne. No? Okay, good, good. In that case, there's no conflict of interest. That's good. Now, I think I know what this meeting is about, but why don't you go ahead and tell me? Mm-hmm, 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 mm-hmm. Okay, I have to be honest with you. I'm your attorney. I'm not a marriage counselor. I'm not a therapist. And I won't lie. I did hear about the rumors involving your husband. Now, I know, all Driders / Arachne are female. There's no such thing as a male. And every single one who is born is female. I understand that. I understand that there's very few of you left in the world. After all, humanity only 10 years ago realized that you even exist. And yes, you do have certain rights under the law, including marriage rights and protections, and so does your husband. So, I guess the rumors I've been hearing are true. Now, before I can advise you on what to do, let's just go over step by step what took place. So, you and your husband, for the last handful of years, have been living in a very large cave, and you've had certain amenities put in to accommodate him. Now, that's very good of you. That's what a caring wife or a caring husband would do for each other. And your husband has had trouble sleeping. He's a type 2 diabetic with raging insomnia. Okay. So, okay. Oh, I see. So the silk that your body produces is not just excellent for making clothing and bedding. Uh-huh, uh-huh. Have you been having any issues with the Lamar Company? No issues, and that's good. So they're still buying your limited amount of silk, charging huge rates, and basically using it to make bedding, clothing, which they sell to the ultra rich for huge markups. Okay. Oh, I see. So they've wanted you to produce more. Well, as your attorney, I don't think that's a good idea. I mean, yes, you are artificially keeping the supply low, but that's a good thing. I mean, if you increase the supply of your silk and the demand remains where it is, the price will go down somewhat because there's more supply. Yes, I think you should leave it artificially low. People are willing to pay huge premiums, let them pay it. So you're not having any problems with the Lamar Company other than that slight issue. They want more silk. Okay, just politely tell them no. Yes, well, your silk is the reason why the Lamar Company is more successful and has a better reputation than Gucci. So just keep the supply low. But I didn't realize that your silk, when used in raw form, is helpful for letting insomniacs sleep. So for quite a while, you've been wrapping up your husband in your silk and then attaching him to your main web so he can get some sleep. And he's not afraid of heights. Okay, that's good. That's good. So, what happened? I mean, I just don't understand. If everything was working out so well, what happened? Oh, mm-hmm, mm-hmm, mm-hmm. I see. So, your husband has a fear of being completely bound up from the top of his head to the very bottom of his feet. So usually what you do is you bound him up in your silk every night from the bottom of his feet up to the top of his torso, but with his arms, shoulders, and head left unbound. I see. And that's been working relatively well for the last couple of years. Oh, a little bit longer than that, I see. But it's been working somewhat. He still hasn't been getting the best sleep he could. And you've been trying to convince him for quite a long while to let you bind him up completely. Okay. I'm guessing that he would be able to easily breathe through your silk. Oh, he would. He just wouldn't be able to see through it, but he could easily breathe through it. Okay. So, I'm guessing this incident happened one night when he agreed to let you do that, and then had a panic attack or something similar? Oh, oh, I wish you hadn't told me that. Well, no, I'm not judging you, but so one night you bound him up completely, without his consent. I see. And he begged you to stop, and you wouldn't. And you bound him up completely. He struggled a little bit, but then he settled down, and you thought that he had fallen asleep. That's not what happened, was it? No. So the next morning, your younger sister came to visit you. You cut your man free of your webbing, of your silk, your raw silk, and unlike all the other times, this time he fell to the floor, petrified, like a statue, eyes wide open in fear. You didn't seem too concerned, but your sister became afraid. I don't think I've ever heard of a Drider or Arachne feeling fear when fire wasn't involved. Your sister was afraid of what she saw. I mean, look, I'm not gonna lie to you. I'm not gonna sit here and tell you that consent is sexy. No, it's not sexy, but it's very important. You did not have consent from your husband to wrap him up completely. You took that on yourself. You did that yourself because you're bigger and stronger than your husband, and you decided this would be best for him, so he'll thank me later. I mean, the truth is, before I started representing your kind, I represented a lot of women who were married. And, their husbands thought that, well, I'm married to this woman and I'm in the mood. She's not. She's my wife. So I'm just gonna do what I want. And I've been very successful in representing those women and making sure their not-so-loving husbands got punished for imposing themselves onto their wives because they were in the mood, they're bigger, stronger, and they took advantage. I mean, it's not as though it's the 1800s or the early 1900s when, a husband deciding he wanted his wife's body and he was, well, society decided, sure, you're entitled to that. She married you. I mean, these men, they learned the hard way. That doesn't apply anymore. Just because she's married to you doesn't mean you can do whatever you want to her. And I'm sorry, but just because your husband is married to you doesn't mean you can do whatever you want to him without his consent. Consent isn't sexy, but it's extremely important. Now, I know this is difficult for you to hear, but honestly, you violated your husband. I mean, not in a sexual way, but you still violated him. Now, are the rumors true? The instant that you and your sister turned your backs to him in order to get him some water, in order to grab the medical kit, he got up and ran off screaming. And I'm assuming that all the times you've bound your husband in your webbing, he's been naked, hasn't he? And he was naked that morning as well. So your husband, first opportunity he had, he got up and he ran out of your cave like a screaming lunatic, naked, through the woods, tearing up his feet. Quite frankly, probably the only time that being a type 2 diabetic was actually beneficial. I mean, he still horribly cut up his feet running through the forest, all those brambles and rocks and glass that campers love to leave behind. Your husband tore up his feet horribly. He ran for miles screaming. I mean, it's a miracle that he didn't hit a tree branch and knock himself out, or even worse, kill himself by running headfirst into a tree. And he only stopped running when he saw a giant hospital sign and collapsed. You and your sister, even with your long, powerful legs, you couldn't catch up to him. That's how much fear was inside of him. And I'm sorry, but you caused that. I mean, he left a bloody trail all the way to the hospital. One that you and your sister were able to easily follow. They took him inside and they asked you to please leave. And you and your sister did the smart thing and you left. Look, I've heard the rumors. I didn't want to say anything because, again, I'm just your attorney and mostly I represent you with regards to any issues you might have with the Lamar Company. But this issue, wasn't he in the hospital for 3 weeks? In bed, practically in traction because of the damage to the bottom of his feet? I mean, quite frankly, he's fortunate that the doctors didn't have to amputate his feet considering the damage. Now, isn't that true? Yes. Well, being a type 2 diabetic just means you can't feel pain if you step on something sharp. Most of the time. Even though he couldn't feel pain, his feet still got horribly damaged. Even though the nerve endings in his feet were dead because of the diabetes. I mean, he still suffered horrible damage to his feet. He just couldn't feel it. All right. I'm not trying to make you upset. I know it hasn't been easy for you. Your husband has slowly gotten used to your size, your body. I mean, I know that most of the time you're practically touching the ground with your belly, trying to make yourself smaller than you really are. Well, it's a primal fear that human beings have. I don't seem to have it. That's why I'm able to represent your kind. But yes, if you raise yourself up to your full height, it is incredibly intimidating for a small human being. Even a tall man like your husband. I mean, it is just incredibly intimidating. Yes. Oh, that's the air freshener that they installed in the hangar. Don't worry about that. Listen, what is it that you want me to help you with? I see. Okay. So your husband wants a divorce, and you don't want that. When they released him from the hospital, did he go back to you? He didn't. He tried to get a restraining order against you. I see. So he wants a divorce, and that's why you're consulting with me. Well, the good news is I do know quite a few very good divorce attorneys. Like I said, I used to represent abused and battered women. I do know quite a few good divorce attorneys. Wait, you don't want that? Well, I'm a bit confused. What do you want? You want me to recommend a good marriage counselor and therapist for you and your husband. I have to be honest, at this point, I don't think he's interested in going. All right, all right. I'll stop by his studio apartment and I'll talk with him about it. Yes, I will do that for you. Please, please stop crying. I will do that for you. Yes. We'll see how it goes.